Tariq Melrose here. You ever hear an answer so off base, it leaves you wondering if they misheard the question or just hoped you did? That was today. But while they play rhetorical dodgeball, I've got a play-by-play breakdown. Subscribe if you're done being underestimated, because this audience, we read between the lines, and I'm here to highlight every one. Ted Cruz just put on another made-for-Fox News performance, waving around unverified allegations about Joe Biden like they're gospel truth, while badgering the FBI for not breaking investigative protocol. This wasn't about facts. It was about turning a committee hearing into a campaign clip for the MAGA outrage machine.
For statutory changes, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thanks, Senator Ossoff. Senator Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Gentlemen, every day when I'm home in Texas, I hear from Texans who are deeply dismayed about the growing politicization and weaponization of the Department of Justice and the FBI. If you are not, every one of you should be deeply concerned about the damage being done to the integrity of the institutions in which you operate. My office hears regularly from FBI agents and from assistant U.S. attorneys who are likewise concerned about the politicization and weaponization of the Department of Justice and the FBI, and this is profoundly damaging to the rule of law in our nation. Last month, a whistleblower brought to light the existence in the FBI of a report, an FD 1023, in which the informant alleges that President Biden and his family members engaged in a $5 million bribery scheme during his time as vice president. Deputy Director Abate, is it true that the FBI has a report making those allegations?
I'm not going to comment on that, Senator.
And why is that?
I'm just not going to comment on information we received, investigations, or
Do you owe an
ongoing matters.
obligation to the American people to be candid about evidence of corruption by the President of the United States?
This is an area that I'm not going to get into with you, Senator.
Well, I understand you don't want to, and that's why people are mad at the FBI, because you're stonewalling and covering up serious allegations of evidence of corruption from the president. Yesterday, Senator Chuck Grassley stood on the Senate floor and alleged that there are 17 recordings of this informant from Burisma, Ukrainian natural gas company. 15 of them are recordings, voice recordings of him talking to Hunter Biden. 2 of them are voice recordings of him talking to Joe Biden. Deputy Director Abate, does the FBI have 17 voice recordings laying out evidence of a bribery scheme?
Senator, I would add also that we've worked with the House Oversight Committee.
Yeah, this is the Senate. We're the other side of the Capitol. This is the Senate. Do you have those 17 recordings?
I'm not going to comment on any investigative matters, Senator.
See, that's the problem. The FBI, and I've had this conversation with Chris Wray too, this is why you are damaging the institution. The American people have a right to know whether there is serious, credible evidence that the President of the United States took a $5 million bribe. And by the way, if it's false, Chairman Durbin just rolled his eyes. If Chairman Durbin were interested in the rule of law, we would have a hearing on these allegations. But of course, the Democrats don't want a hearing on these allegations. And to be clear, if the allegations are false, you know who could disprove them? Joe Biden. He could call for this to be released publicly. But the FBI is stonewalling. Would you agree?
Two things, Senator. No one's stonewalling. The 1023
you just said you refused to answer the question.
In response to a subpoena.
Okay, then why did you refuse to answer my question?
The pertinent information is there, and I reject your assertion that the FBI is politicized.
Why did you refuse to answer my question?
I just answered your question.
Okay, so yes, you have a 1023. Do you have the 17 recordings, yes or no?
I'm not going to get further into that.
So you're stonewalling. You can't say I'm not refusing to answer your question, but I won't answer your question.
I'm going to answer within the parameters that we operate in. Here.
That's the problem. The FBI has right now an unlimited hubris that you believe you are unaccountable. You don't believe you're accountable to the United States Congress, and you don't believe you're accountable to the American people. And you are doing damage. The FBI is a great institution. When I go home to Texas, people ask me, should we abolish the FBI? Now, I tell them no, because you have heroes and patriots working for you that are catching child predators, that are catching terrorists. But you're sitting there happily erecting a wall to protect Joe Biden. Will you provide to this committee, not the House, the Senate Judiciary Committee, will you provide the FD 1023 and will you provide the 17 recordings so we can assess what is the evidence, the specific credible evidence that Joe Biden personally took a $5 million bribe from a foreign national?
Senator, we will work with this committee, you and other members, to provide the information within the parameters of the process.
Will you provide the FD 1023, yes or no?
I will take that back, and we will work with our
So
team.
you're not answering that. Will you provide the 17 recordings?
We will take that back, and we'll work with you.
So
and
you're
your
not
staff.
answering that either. Did you investigate in any way, shape, or form these allegations?
Senator, once again, I'm not going to comment.
So
on
you're not going to
investigative-
say whether you did your job?
We do our job to the very best of our ability.
Well, not here. You're not answering a single question to the American people. And you may think this is esoteric. I promise you, millions of Americans are concerned. You know who isn't concerned? Not a single Senate Democrat. We're going to go through this whole hearing. Not one Democrat will ask a question about this. You know who else isn't concerned? The corporate media, who is joining with the Democrats in covering up this evidence. If Joe Biden is innocent, the evidence should be made public and demonstrate that he's innocent. But if he is not, is it true this informant who alleged that he personally took a bribe was an informant the FBI had relied upon previously in other investigations? Yes or no?
Senator, in each and every investigation that we have, all the work that we do,
I asked you
the
a yes or no
expectation
question.
is that every logical avenue investigation be pursued
I asked you a
to
yes
its
or no
fullest.
question. Are you going to answer it?
Yeah, I'm answering your question.
Was the informant one you had relied on previously in other investigations? Yes or no?
Senator, we run down every piece of information, every
You're not
lead,
answering it then. You're refusing to answer
objectively,
it. So you're refusing to answer the
to
question.
the fullest extent possible.
refusing to answer the question.
Senator,
Is that
your time
correct?
has
in all
expired.
instances.
Senator, your time
It's
is
disgraceful. It's disgraceful, Deputy Director Abate. Disgraceful.
Senator, your time has expired. Senator Tilts?
Chairman, I think Senator Blackburn goes before me, or Senator Welch. I appreciate the opportunity, but
Thank you, Senator Tillis. It's Senator Welch is next.
Let's cut through the noise here. What Cruz did in this exchange is the same trick MAGA Republicans have been running for years. Take an unverified claim, treat it as fact, demand immediate disclosure in violation of standard law enforcement procedures, and then scream cover up when the answer is, we can't comment. The allegation Cruz leans on, a supposed $5 million bribery scheme involving Joe Biden and a Ukrainian company, comes from an FD 1023 form. That's an internal FBI document where agents record what informants say, not proof that the claim is true. FD 1023S are raw tip sheets, and they're full of unvetted, sometimes false, sometimes malicious allegations. Law enforcement agencies treat them as investigative leads, not evidence in court. Cruz knows this. He's a former state solicitor general and a trained lawyer. But in this hearing, he talks to the public like it's a signed confession. From there, Cruz tries to squeeze a yes or no out of the deputy director about whether the FBI has 17 voice recordings, a detail plucked from Senator Grassley's floor speech, which itself was based on partisan leaks. There's no public confirmation these recordings even exist, let alone that they contain incriminating material. But Cruz frames the FBI's refusal to confirm as proof of a conspiracy to protect Biden. That's not oversight, it's entrapment theater. Here's the thing. The FBI always refuses to confirm or deny details of ongoing investigations or unverified allegations. This isn't special treatment for Biden. It's standard procedure to protect both the integrity of investigations and the reputations of people who might be falsely accused. If the Bureau broke that policy here just to satisfy Cruz's political stunt, it would set a precedent that could destroy countless investigations. Imagine a world where the FBI announces every rumor it's chasing before it's substantiated. Cruz would be first in line to scream about the weaponization of law enforcement against conservatives. Cruz then pivots into his "the FBI is protecting Joe Biden" narrative, tossing in grievances about the corporate media and Democrats supposedly ignoring the story. This is the classic MAGA propaganda loop. Float an allegation from a partisan source. Demand instant public proof. Treat any refusal, even on legal or procedural grounds, as stonewalling. Use that to feed a base narrative of a corrupt, liberal deep state. It's the same playbook we saw with Hillary Clinton's emails, the unmasking non-scandal, the Russia probe witch hunt, and Hunter Biden's laptop. The allegation itself doesn't have to be proven. It just has to be repeated enough times to become political shorthand for guilt. Cruz also tries to frame the issue as one where Biden could clear his name by calling for the release of the document and recordings. That's a false equivalence. Innocent people don't have to dignify unverified accusations by waiving investigative protections, and doing so could harm ongoing cases or reveal sensitive sources. Cruz is banking on the optics. If Biden doesn't push for release, they'll say he's hiding something. If he does, they'll dig through every out-of-context snippet to invent a new scandal. Heads they win, tails the other side loses. And let's talk about the hypocrisy here. Cruz warns about the FBI's unlimited hubris and supposed unaccountability. But where was this righteous fury when Donald Trump was pressuring the FBI to go easy on his allies, firing FBI Director James Comey for refusing loyalty or publicly releasing selective investigative material to smear political enemies? Cruz has no problem with selective leaks when they help Republicans. His outrage only flares when the target is a Democrat. The most dangerous part of Cruz's performance is how it erodes public trust in institutions. By framing the FBI's standard operating procedure as proof of corruption, he primes millions of Americans to dismiss any future finding that clears Biden. In other words, he's inoculating his audience against facts. If the FBI investigates and finds no evidence of bribery, Cruz can simply say, "Of course they'd say that. They're protecting him." That's how conspiracy logic works. Absence of proof becomes proof of a cover-up. And notice how he personalizes the attack on the deputy director, repeating, "You're stonewalling and you're refusing to answer," in a way designed to create a viral clip. This isn't about getting information. It's about producing footage for right-wing media where Cruz looks like the lone truth teller taking on a corrupt system. The viral moment is the product. The hearing is just the set. Also, Cruz's claim that millions of Americans are concerned about this bribery story, that's not organic public outrage. It's the result of an orchestrated feedback loop between GOP politicians, partisan media outlets, and social media echo chambers. The story has been amplified in those spaces without the kind of fact-checking or sourcing that would be applied in mainstream outlets. And that's exactly how Cruz wants it. The less the public knows about the actual evidentiary status, the easier it is to keep the suspicion alive indefinitely. The reality is this: credible allegations of corruption should absolutely be investigated. But Cruz's performance isn't about ensuring a thorough, impartial investigation. It's about weaponizing the existence of an unverified tip to politically damage a sitting president. If he genuinely wanted the truth, he'd be demanding transparency across the board, including on allegations involving his own party's leaders. But as with so many of these MAGA crusades, the standard changes depending on whose ox is being gored. Ted Cruz's questioning wasn't about uncovering the truth. It was about performing outrage to feed a political narrative. He took an unverified FBI tip sheet, treated it as a proven fact, and badgered the deputy director for not breaking protocol to confirm partisan leaks. When the official followed standard procedure, Cruz framed it as a cover-up. This is a calculated political tactic. Keep the allegation alive, undermine trust in law enforcement, and paint Democrats as corrupt no matter what the evidence shows. The danger is that it corrodes public confidence in investigative institutions, making facts irrelevant and partisan suspicion the default. Cruz's hearing theatrics may play well on cable news, but they come at the cost of the rule of law he claims to defend.
replacing due process with trial by insinuation. Don't let unverified allegations and bad faith theatrics rewrite reality. Share this breakdown, drop your thoughts below, and subscribe for more fact-based takedowns of partisan propaganda. Real oversight demands facts and accountability, not political grandstanding designed to score headlines at the expense of truth.